The Philadelphia Eagles are doing what champions do, not resting on their laurels. I'll tell you why they're continuing to improve that defense in just a second here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Not one lie was told. It is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of The Barbershop, the second edition of Locked On NFL that comes on daily. And he is David Harrison of Locked On Commanders. And he's going to join us to go through some of the big stories from around the NFL, especially right now during training camp. I'm going to remind you, we're free to wherever you get your podcast. Make sure whether you watch or listen, you tap into that location to make sure you don't miss an episode like today. Shout out to the everydayers for joining us every day. If you're here for the first time, hopefully we'll give you a reason to come back. Here's where we're going to end up, talking about the Colts quarterbacks having good days. What? Yeah, the Colts quarterbacks are having good days. Right in the middle, how the Cowboys defense is ahead of the offense, and that doesn't surprise me or anybody else this time of year. We're going to start at the very top, though, talking about how champions stay champions. And what that is the Philadelphia Eagles are not resting on their laurels. Before I get to this clip, David Harrison, what is going on with you, my man? You good today?
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm in the shade, right? Like, I know it's not Florida. I know it's not Jacksonville.
Nah.
How did Coach say it? Duval. I know it's not
Duval. Yeah, he got that all.
I know it's not Jacksonville, but it's hot out here, man. It's hot out here, and I mean, I got my tan going. I got some tan lines going. I get to be inside today talking to you, so I mean, it's always a better day when that's happening.
Yeah, newsflash. I got a couple of tan lines myself, dog. You know what I'm saying? I'm just letting you know, right? The Philadelphia Eagles also have tan lines right there around that ring finger because they got a big old ring that's a Super Bowl ring, and they are not resting. We're going to listen to Lou DiBiase tell us who might lose their job because of a rookie. Check this out.
You know, it's funny. Jihad Campbell today dominating at Eagles practice. It got me thinking about just the cruel reality of the NFL. Like, I'm thinking about Nakobe Dean, this poor guy, goes through injuries and up and down plays first 2 years in the NFL, finally gets his shot last year to be the full-time guy, dominates, has one of the most underrated seasons of any Eagle on that 2024 roster, season-ending injury in the playoffs in the wild card round after balling out in the first half. A complete Eagles roster, they got to draft somebody in the first round. They just happen to take a guy at his position who now in Jihad Campbell's balling out in practice, I think is going to be the week one starter. And if he looks really good while Dean's likely on the PUP list, Nakobe Dean, likely after career season, is coming back to the roster in a rotational potential backup role in a contract season. Like, that's just the reality of the NFL, the harsh reality, especially on a really deep team that, again, they got to draft somebody even with no needs.
Now, Howie Roseman traditionally didn't spend a whole bunch of money on off-ball linebackers, didn't spend high resources on those positions. Now that Zach Bond has got his deal and they used the first-round pick on Jihad Campbell, things are a little bit different, and preservation of that championship caliber, that takes precedence over anything else, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jihad Campbell is the starter on opening day.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, Jihad Campbell is a stud. I mean, you know, when you're sitting there, you know, if you're an NFC East fan and you're not an Eagles fan, you're angry. Like, you see Jihad Campbell go to the Philadelphia Eagles, you're like, bro, what are we doing right now? Like, how do you let this guy go to that team? And, you know, look, you do feel bad a little bit for Nakobe Dean, but the thing about Nakobe Dean that he needs to remember, his agent's got to remember, is you have good tape on film.
Good tape.
You know what I mean? You have good tape on film. You got this injury. It happens. You know, it happens to the best of them. You're on a team that honestly doesn't, like you said, doesn't like to pay defensive players anyway, especially off-ball linebackers. So you're probably not getting paid regardless. You get to come back next year, potentially hit the free agent market. You're going to be a year removed from that injury. Everybody's going to remember how good you were. Yep. Trust me, someone is going to want Nakobe Dean on their roster. What this really boils down to, though, and I don't think it's a chance draft pick. You know what I mean? Like, I think Jihad Campbell, even Nakobe Dean, continued to play in the postseason like he was, but when he got hurt, they might have drafted Jihad Campbell anyway because, like you said, they just signed Zach Bond. the Eagles are doing something. Howie Roseman is doing something that a lot of other NFL teams are trying to emulate now, including the Cincinnati Bengals, which is pay your offense, draft your defense. And the theory behind it, I believe, right, is the defense is an 11-man unit. So when you have an 11-man unit, you just need your draft pick to be 1/11th of a successful pattern. And then a lot of times you just need them to be 1/15th or 1/16th of a successful pattern. You're not asking them to eat as big of a pie of a successful unit than you are on, say, offense. You know what I mean? So again, that's just my theory. I haven't talked to Howie about his strategies, but it just seems to be what they're trying to do, and they're being very good at it. The Cincinnati Bengals, not so much. They're not drafting well on defense, so that's the problem in Cincy. But in Philly, they're drafting really well, and they're signing the right people. So it's working. So Nakobe Dean, you're going to be all right, bro. It's 2025 is not probably going to be kind to you, but 2026 you'll be all right.
I said the same thing about the Baltimore Ravens, and they sat there and got Mike Green, and he's pancaking people. And I keep these good teams just sit there. The Patriots, I mean, not the Patriots, the Chiefs. They just sat there and got the fastest dude in the draft last year, 2 years after they traded Tyreek Hill. It's just, I'm just sitting there like, it almost feels like, David, it feels like the old saying, it's hard to go from broke to being a millionaire. But once you're a billionaire, once you're a millionaire, it's easier to become a billionaire from being a millionaire than it does to become a millionaire from being flat broke. The Eagles just sit there they did it with Quinyon Mitchell, who I thought the Jaguars were going to take at 20, but they took Brian Thomas Jr. To me, it's just like, go ahead, make all those mistakes. Keep reaching for all of those dudes that we already have, and we're going to let Jihad Campbell fall to us, who I thought was a top 15 player. They get it, man. And how I can't see them slowing down at all with the way that they draft, with the way that they develop. They go and plug with a guard last year and Mekhi Becton. Oh, don't worry. Tyler Steen is stepping up and he's doing it. Third, fourth year player out of Alabama. This is just what they do. And they are doing this right now as good as anyone has done this, in my opinion, throughout history. Now, I will tell you this. The team we're going to talk about in segment 2, Dallas. Jimmy Johnson, when he got fired from Dallas, he never coached Larry Allen. They drafted Larry Allen the year he got fired, right? When Jerry ran him out. But when Jimmy 2 years later goes to Miami and has full control, they drafted Jason Taylor, Patrick Surtain, Sam Madison, and Zach Thomas. Those guys would have been Cowboys because Jimmy was going to like the same people. You feel me? Yep. And none of those dudes were picked before Dallas got a chance to make a selection. I got a feeling those guys would have been Cowboys. And this kind of reminds me of that. It's like once you get rich, you stay rich. And the Philadelphia Eagles are doing a very, very good job at that. Now, I did mention Dallas. We can't go too long without mentioning the Cowboys. They got big-time receiver in a trade from the Pittsburgh Steelers to go opposite CeeDee Lamb, but that offense still ain't ahead of that defense. That's not a surprise, by the way, but we'll discuss that and more in just a second here on Locked On NFL. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, me and my homeboys in the Showdown and the Playmakers League are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. All right, here's what you need to do, man, if you want to get on with it, what you should. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 new features, big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins August 4th. Stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this season the best one yet. All right, here with my man David Harrison, running through some of the content going around the National Football League and training camp. It's time for us to get to the Dallas Cowboys. George Pickens was traded to Dallas. Javonte Williams was signed at running back. They already have CeeDee Lamb, and they have a healthy tight end in Ferguson and a healthy Dak Prescott. Not so much on the offensive line. Both of their tackles are hurting a little bit, but my man Landon McCool has a report from training camp with the Dallas Cowboys that'll give you some kind of indication of where they are right now on both sides of the ball.
Malik Hooker and the pass defense were the big winners of practice today. Hi, I'm Landon McCool with the Locked On Cowboys podcast, and the second day of padded practice showed another day of superior pass defense as the Cowboys pass offense struggled with a lot of drops. Outside of a really big play down the sideline to George Pickens from Dak Prescott, for the most part, the Cowboys defense was the winner in most of the practice. There was also a big injury with Tyler Guyton, who was down for a little while, was able to walk to the locker room under his own accord. We'll keep you posted once we learn a little bit more. But overall, it seems that the pass defense is still a little bit ahead of where the pass offense is in this second day in pads. For more on this, make sure you check us out all week as we will be updating you guys on training camp notes. Check us out on the Locked On Squad show later today, and make sure you're subscribed to all of our content.
There you go, my man Landon McCool. Shout out to Marcus Mosier, also does a real good job at Locked On Cowboys. I don't know about you, but in training camp, usually especially when they go full, the defense is usually a little bit ahead of the offense, especially when you're bringing in a new offensive system.
Yeah. There's a lot of context, right, that you have to break down there, right? You've got new players, like you said, Javonte Williams. You've got Pickens. Like, there's some new guys that are kind of getting acclimated. They got to get acclimated with Dak and the scheme, and like you mentioned, they're all learning, new languages and all this stuff. The defense is a little bit more ahead of that install and that process. The other part of it is kind of what we talk about a lot, right? It's really hard to be a good team when you're bad in the trenches, and if your offensive line is rebuilt, which, I think we all agree the Dallas Cowboys made some really good steps towards resecuring that offensive line that at one point, not that long ago, was considered to be the best in the NFL.
No doubt.
It's still a work in progress. And then you have guys getting hurt and not being able to take all the reps and doing all these things. It only slows down that progress. And if the Dallas Cowboys, that's if I'm a Cowboys fan, that's where I'm really more concerned with. Because I'll tell you right now, if Dak doesn't have time to get set and be comfortable in the pocket, I don't care if you got 4 Hall of Famers out there running routes. You're never going to accomplish anything in the pass game. And if you can't accomplish anything in the pass game, your run game isn't going to be able to carry you in today's NFL. So that's where I would be more concerned. If anything, if I was a Cowboys fan, this is where, I know I've not necessarily said the greatest things about Dak in the past on this program, but like, this is where I'm going to end up defending Dak, right? If Dak Prescott doesn't have the protection in front of him that he needs to be successful, it's kind of hard to lay all of the failures that come out of his hands. Yes, it comes out of his hand. I got it. But it's really kind of hard for me to place all the blame at his feet if that's the situation. But, Dak knows this as well as anybody else in the league knows this. You got to deal with the hand you've been dealt. And, I think I saw that Guyton, escaped like serious injury.
Right.
But, if that line can't stay healthy for whatever reason, he's just got to deal with it and make the best he can of it. And it's going to be on that offense as well to adjust to what's going on at the same time.
One of the things about Dallas that intrigues me is, are they going to be able to stop the run? They get a lot of turnovers in the passing game. We know that. And now they got Donovan Izaraku. I hope I say his name right. I'm always
Izaraku. Donovan Izaraku.
Yeah, that's your boy, right? Yeah.
Another one of my guys that went to a different NFC team than the one I wanted him to go to.
But they always end up with pass rushers. They've had the DeMarcus Lawrence. They've had the dude y'all got up in DC and Dorrance. What's his name?
Armstrong.
Dorrance Armstrong. It seems like Dallas always has these pass rushers, but Donovan, combined with the contractless big player that they have over there already in Michael Parsons, they're going to be able to get after the quarterback. The key is, can they stop the run? If you can stop the run and put teams in long down and distance situations, those corners that they have that let Bland, all of those guys, they love to jump those routes, man. The front end works together with the back end, and we'll just have to see how it works out. The Giants, it's a reason for me to believe they'll improve because they got some quarterbacks. I think all 3 of their quarterbacks are better than the dudes they had last year, and we'll talk about one of them in a little bit later. But now they got Malik Neighbors, their dynamic second-year wide receivers, a little bit banged up. Listen to Patricia Traynor talk about what his plans are to try to get healthy.
But the topic of surgery came up with Malik Neighbors. He was asked if surgery was ever considered. Might it be an option, or might his toe issue just resolve itself on its own? Malik didn't know if it would resolve itself on its own, but he also said that surgery had come up in the discussion and he opted not to have surgery. Now, I don't blame him. I don't know anybody who's going to rush to have surgery if rest and management is going to help. But the takeaway I got Neighbors is going to have his practice reps managed. Now, that shouldn't be that big of a deal because he's pretty good. The only way I could see being a problem is if the drop C issue that he had last year continues. And even that is not, a big thing to get all worked up about.
Bro, the one thing I don't play about is toes. I saw primetime Deion Sanders' career at the very end start going down and down because he had a very, very bad case of turf toe, and I don't think it ever really healed. That's a bad injury for anybody, but especially a wide receiver or a corner.
I mean, look, when you talk about wide receivers and you ask, any wide receiver, any coach or any evaluator of the wide receiver position, what's the most important part of any route that is run? It's the release. It's the release off the line of scrimmage. And if your release has a hitch in it or a delay in it, or it's a little bit slow, or it's a little bit off, or it's a little bit less clean than it usually is, that is a problem. Now, I agree with Patricia that I think Malik Neighbors is healthy enough that, if he's got to have some restricted reps in training camp and all that stuff, he's going to be okay. My concern blends into how does this boil over to the season, right? Because if you're talking about a young player, this is a young guy. This is a guy that, second-year players don't get vet rest days, right? No. This is a young guy. And you're talking about having to manage his practice reps because of this toe injury right now. The season is long. The season is really, really long. Like, how much are you going to have to manage his game, his workload? How much are you going to have to manage his practice load during the season? If you're entering the year with your best offensive player in this situation, it certainly can't sit well with you if you're the Giants or a Giants fan. That doesn't guarantee doom and gloom or anything like that. But it's got to be a little bit of a nagging feeling in the back of your mind. And if you don't have Malik Neighbors out there, I said this to another meeting the other day, Wig, I think Malik Neighbors might be like the perfect Russell Wilson receiver in the NFL today. Mm-hmm. But Russell Wilson needs that perfect Russell Wilson receiver. Like, he can't really work with a whole lot of other things at this stage in his career. So if Malik Neighbors isn't out there, like, I like Darius Slayton, I like some of these other players, but man, if Malik Neighbors is not out there, that offense goes down. I mean, that offense, if you want to call him like a B+ right now, that offense drops to like maybe a C without Malik Neighbors. That's how important he is.
And it's wild because the comp that I have for Malik Neighbors, it's not because they wore the same colors or they went to the same college. But when you look at his body type and the way that he plays, he is the closest thing to Jamar Chase I can even imagine. And they're physical. They play bully ball, as my man Eric Crocker told me in the pre-draft phase when you're talking about Jamar Chase. You got a little hitch in your giddy up, man. You ain't that big of a bully anymore, So I've talked about all three teams that go against your team, your ops, if you will. Tell me how is the camp going for Washington? Because we've had some spirited debates with other people that maybe we need to slow down on praising Washington a little bit. Tell us what's going on in camp for a couple of minutes about Washington. Yeah,
the Commanders camp is going similar to what you hear with some of these other camps, right? Like, Cowboys fans are talking about the defense being ahead of the offense. I think, the last, we've had 6 days of practice so far, 1 in pads. I'd say that the defense is probably 3.5 of those days. You know what I mean? If you want to get down to the nitty gritty of it, the thing you like if you're the defense is the Commanders have had a 3-day set, then a day off, then a 3-day set, right? So they've been very even and balanced in that. The defense has come out and won that 3rd day in both of those sets.
That's good.
So you kind of like that, right? Because you see the offense come out on day 1, they're installing some new stuff, trying some new things. And by the time we get to that 3rd day, the defense is kind of shifted and adjusted. And like, all right, we know what you're doing. We know how you're going to go about it. So it really shows a lot of promise. The question mark with the Commanders defense heading into the season has to be run defense, right? Especially if you're trying to catch the Philadelphia Eagles. And I will tell you, like, just the 1 day in pads so far. So it's a small sample size. But that 1 day in pads, I was doing a lot of viewing on Dietrich Wise Jr. specifically on how he's going to help set that edge. And I'll tell you, man, it was a much firmer edge set by him than we saw last year from the Commanders. So is that going to translate to when they play the Eagles? I can't tell you that right now, but it's certainly a promising sign as we get ready to move forward. And we got joint practice against the New England Patriots, just next week. And then the first preseason games right around the corner. So we're going to learn a lot in a very short window right now.
We will. And we appreciate you for finalizing the NFC East, giving us a little bit of a report. We're going to talk about the AFC South next, specifically Colts quarterbacks, Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. Are they putting days together? And then Cam Ward, he got a rookie wake-up call that Tyler Rowland is going to tell us about. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy. Transfusion, it brings you bold, great ginger and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol into a quick energy or energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Now, listen, man, we got to be honest. Some days on the course or off the course, even doing podcasts, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. And 5 Hour Energy is where I go. There are a lot of ideas and things that you need to be paying attention to out there when you talk about getting energy. You want the 5 Hour Energy because you also feel real good when it's over. That's right. Golf and football is all about good times and good people and good flavors, of course. The great ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your day and the best parts of your time with friends when you go without chasing down the beverage cart. You don't need to be doing that. You need to just have it right there with you. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, it's the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code Locked On Golf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th, and one order cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. Time for us to look a little bit at the AFC South and talk about quarterbacks. Daniel Jones is one of those dudes we're going to discuss. And the reason why we're going to discuss him is because we talked about the Giants and we think that they're better off at quarterback. And Daniel Jones is going up to try to rejuvenate his career in Indy, but he's got to battle Anthony Richardson. And hopefully if Richardson doesn't check himself out of a game, that will be a spirited competition. Listen to the guys from Locked On Coaching. David and I'll give our assessment.
It is day 6 of Indianapolis Colts training camp, and these quarterbacks are starting to stack some days, guys. What's up? This is Jake Arthur from Locked On Colts, and I had Anthony Richardson 10 of 15 today, Daniel Jones 7 of 10. So very efficient from both guys. The short and intermediate stuff was clicking really well. I noticed Jones was really excelling in the 7-on-7s, really throwing guys open. His timing was awesome. Anthony Richardson had a couple really, really nice corner routes over Kenny Moore during the 7-on-7s as well. So just a nice banner day for both of them. Again, this is like 3 out of the last 4 days that we've been able to say these guys look pretty sharp. Some injuries to know, unfortunately. Michael Pittman Jr. left with a groin injury. Juju Brents didn't practice at all with a hamstring, and Jalen Jones left with a hamstring as well. He actually had to be carted off.
All right, there you go. So 17 out of 25 between those two guys. He said short and intermediate, mentioned a couple of corner routes. Yeah, but they're playing against each other, and it's 7-on-7, and ain't nobody else there, right? I wonder what's going to happen when the Colts actually get on the field. Tell me what you think about him, and then who you think is going to be the day one starter coming out of the gate.
I don't know who the day one starter is going to be. I'm just going to be honest with you. I have no idea who the day one starter is going to be, but, you know, I had real high hopes for Anthony Richardson coming out of college, and, you know, that ability is still there somewhere. You know, we got to see where he's gone mentally because, yeah, like you brought that up, like, quarterback checking himself out of a game is just crazy business. You can't do that. So we'll see. You know, we'll see what happens there. But you know, the thing about Daniel Jones, man, is Daniel Jones has always had like the requisite talent. You know what I mean, to be in the NFL. Like that's never really been a question. The question with Daniel Jones has always been, can you do it consistently when it matters, and that's on game day. And just too many times you see him falter when the Giants need him the most, whether it's a fumble or a bad throw or whatever it is. Like, I've seen him throw timing routes before. I've seen him throw dots before. And then you just seen him throw ducks and just, you know, bad plays. And I've always kind of said too, and Commanders fans will feel this, like if he could just play Washington every game of his career, he'd be a Hall of Famer because for some reason when he plays Washington, he shows up. But then you turn on the TV and watch him play Dallas or Philly or, you know, anybody. And it's like, this is the dude. And to be truthful, like to full transparency, when he came out of Duke, I wasn't really all that high on him. Like I know people were talking about him, and then I was like, I don't see it. And a lot of the problems I saw at Duke, I see in the NFL to this day. So the question is, can you teach that old dog new tricks? And I don't mean old as in like Russell Wilson old, but you know, he's kind of set in his ways. So, you know, practice is great. You know, throws on air, cool, 7-on-7. even against your own teammates, got it. I need to see it in game day. You know what I mean? I need to see it on the field. And that's really just with both of these guys, because a lot of their issues are mental, and you just can't replicate the mental stress that a game gives you in practice.
No, you can't. And unfortunately, the comp I had for him when he came out, because of the narratives of him just being a very good athlete, was Ryan Tannehill. And it seems like he's a very Ryan Tannehill type quarterback. Like, I saw him his rookie year play against Tampa, bro. I know you covered the Bucs then too. You probably remember. He sliced and diced them up, man, in that game. And I was like, the NFC East is in trouble. And then I've never seen him play that well again. Sticking in the AS,
he'll get like a drive that way, and then the rest of the game is just like doo-doo. Like it's mental, right? It's mental. Like the physical ability is there. He can't mentally sustain it.
Yeah, and the physical ability is definitely in Tennessee right now. I know I'm not talking about Will Levis. I ain't going to pick on him because he's got a big knot on his shoulder and he's missing the rest of this season. But it is Cam Ward, the #1 overall pick. It's expected that a rookie struggles a little bit. And Tyler Rowland says that's exactly what he did. Check this out.
The first day of pads for the Tennessee Titans at training camp, and boy, it was a rough practice for Cam Ward. Ward threw 3 interceptions according to reports, with 2 of those interceptions coming in the final team period. He was off target throughout the day. He was inaccurate. He was late. He was behind on a lot of throws. Just not a great performance from Cam Ward. But look.
Listen, I stopped it right there because I'm going to tell you something about Cam Ward. When we watched him, and I'm a Florida State supporter, so I saw a lot of Miami games. You saw this tantalizing, calm, cool Joe Montana, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes playing loose. But sometimes it looked a little too loosey-goosey, throwing the ball across his body. It looked laissez-faire. It looked really, really too laid back. And I think he's going to have to find that balance in the NFL and figure out right now doing camp the things he can and can't do so he can fix that before these games really do get started.
Yep. Look, the evaluation on Cam Ward is very similar for me to Caleb Williams. You have to be able to sift through all that tape and pull out the playground football and pull out the professional football, because in college, you're playing amateur football. I know these guys are getting paid now, but they're not getting paid to play football. They're getting paid to be famous. That's different. You can be professionally famous and be an amateur baller, right? Mm-hmm. These guys are amateur ballers, and Cam Ward was getting away with some of this stuff against guys that they're going to play as many snaps of NFL football as I am. You're not going to do that in the NFL. You're not going to get away with that stuff in the NFL. Caleb Williams, same thing. Now, the difference between Cam Ward and Caleb Williams, I saw Caleb Williams doing this stuff sometimes just because he wanted to. Like, there's no reason. I saw this dude leaning on one foot, sidearm throw off balance, and there's no pass rush. Like, there's no pressure on you. I don't know why you're doing this crazy stuff. That's a problem. Cam Ward is doing it usually out of some sort of necessity or belief in his arm. And you know, if he's running to his right, throwing to his left, he's running to his right because he had to run to his right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're going to have to rein it in, right? But the question with every rookie quarterback is how much are you going to put on him and how much can he handle, right? Mm-hmm. And you look at Caleb Williams, and last year, I mean, look, this coaching staff was fighting for their jobs and fighting for their lives. They put a lot on Caleb Williams way too early, and it didn't go well. How is he going to bounce back from that this season with the new coaching staff? We'll see. Cam Ward, I feel like the Tennessee Titans are in a prime position, potentially put too much on his shoulders. And if they put that much on his shoulders, he's not going to want to go let people down. And he didn't make his living get to the NFL by being timid. He made it to the NFL being aggressive. He's going to go out there and be aggressive. That's what you see on those types of days, and that's what you're going to see. At the same time, though, if you're a Titans fan or if you're a Hurricane fan, you know, hoping that Cam's going to be something great, you're also seeing some practice clips of him dropping dots on people. So, you know, again, it goes back to the mental. Like, we've talked about this, man. When people fail in the NFL, it's usually never a physical thing. That's right. The physical ability is there. It is a mental thing. Yep. It's either I just want to drink what I want to drink, and I don't want to study, and I'm going to be a first-round bust for the Raiders type of problem, or it's a lack of work ethic, or it's just sometimes, look, NFL football is different. It's a different beast. And sometimes some of these dudes are just, they're not smart enough to pick it up. Mm-hmm. I remember Brian Price, defensive lineman at UCLA, goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all the talent in the world. That dude was so homesick, had never left Southern California except for on road game trips and then come right back home. Had never left Southern California before that. Got drafted to Tampa, Florida, a whole different world away. He was so unable to adapt to life outside of Southern California without his infrastructure around him, that he flamed out. He just couldn't handle it. Again, it's not about talent. It's not about physical talent, I should say. It's about mental talent. And the more you put on a rookie quarterback, the more you threaten their mental ability to bounce back and to survive and all that stuff. So that's going to be the question for the Titans. You know what I mean? If you don't put him in a position to make those crazy throws, he's not going to make those crazy throws. So that's on the Titans.
Let me give you an example, and you'll appreciate this. You were in the Army. I was in the Air Force. They opened Ranger School for people who weren't just Army, right? We were actually trained in my career field. We were trained by Ranger. We were trained by people from a Ranger battalion, right? So, as a matter of fact, his name was Ranger Harper. I remember him. He had this little raspy voice, like he'd been yelling at people for his whole life. So, we had a guy named Scruggs who was like the best athlete on base when I was up over in Germany. He would run. He would almost break the world record how fast he run and push-ups. This dude's doing this every day. He was ate up. They sent him to Ranger School. He washed out after 2 weeks. The toughest dude you know from your neighborhood who used to knock people out. You go to prison, he's going to be folding people's clothes 9 times out of 10. That's what the NFL is, man. You can get away with that crap in college. You ain't getting away with it when you get up there with those dudes. You play around with the ball and spin around, they're going to slap it out of your hand. And you're going to end up getting benched. Because being the best athlete or being the calm, cool guy looks a lot easier than it really is when you're playing on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles of the world.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels made that thing look easy. That's why I respect him so much. It's not that easy for everybody else. I'll tell you what is easy for everybody else, to go check out Locked On Bets. That's right. Sure, you tap into Locked On Bets, man. Got a couple of experts over there who will give it to you the way you need to get it. And they'll tell you what to do and what not to do, right? And all you got to do is pay attention. Make sure you check out Locked On Bets on the Locked On Podcast Network. My man, David, you got a little bit of a day off, right? I'm going to let you go ahead and get to it and enjoy it because training camp is in full swing. Check him out on Locked On Commanders. Check me out on Locked On Jaguars, and Tyler Rowland will be right back in the morning waking you up with a double shot of espresso coming out of his mouth, by the way, because the madman is just loud like that. Thank you for joining us here on Locked On NFL. We'll see you.